Where did you grow up?
In Brodeen. It's a continuation of Spittle Street, which is now Father Matthew Street. But in my time it was Spittle Street and Brodeen.
How did your area get its name?
Well, the Spittle end of it, as far as I know, got its name from, at one time there was a hospital. I think it was a fever hospital or something like that, you know, but Spittle Hospital. So that's why it was called Spittle Street.
What kind of house did you live in?
A small house. We had 3 bedrooms, and that was it. Like, it was pretty small, but it was comfortable.
Did you have any running water and electricity?
Oh, we had, yes, yeah.
Where did you go to school?
The Boys National School in St. Michael Street in Tip.
And where did you go to secondary school?
In the Christian Brothers. Originally in the hills, and afterwards in the Abbey.
Can you remember the names of any of your teachers?
Oh, indeed I can. You had Michael Flynn, he was the headmaster. He'd be Kieran Flynn's father now, like, you know, the solicitor's father. You had Bill O'Hanran, you had Jim Russell, and you had Chucky Healy. We never knew what his real name was, but we called him Chucky. He was a native of Bantry in Cork.
What shops did your family visit and for what?
Well, the shops were local. We said they were small shops. There were Fennelly's and Lowry's. They'd been in further up the street, like, you know, and we wouldn't have to go up into the centre of town, like, because Fennelly's now and before Fennelly's, actually there was a shop. It was the same shop, Horns, but they bought a farm down around Feathers, and Fennelly's took that one because Fennelly's had a smaller shop across the street. And that's where that little supermarket is there now, like, down there. If you did your shopping, we did bigger shopping, then we went up further up the street, and Lipton's would have been one of the main groceries, like Kelly's, Coleman's, and those would be the principal grocery stores. Now then you had tailors. Quite close to us in Brodeen, you had Denny Nugent. He was a tailor. He had a shop over there in the next street over. What's this? Davis Street. He had a shop there, a tailor shop. Cassan's, I remember well. Maloney's, that'd be Mara Kirby's now, like, you know. He was a member of the first stall, Dr. Maloney, and he another claim to fame he had was that I think one of his sister was Kevin Barry's mother, who was executed in 1916, after 1916. It wasn't 1916, but Kevin Barry. You know the famous song Kevin Barry?
Yeah. Was it considered unlucky to transact business on certain days?
It didn't. Here, the one thing it was like that. There's Hansel Monday. You didn't give out money. That was, I think, after New Year, the Monday after New Year's Day, it was known as Hansel Monday, and they said it was unlucky to pay out money on that day, like, you know.
And were the markets held locally? Can you describe a market, fair, or market?
Well, the fairs, and once a month, there were very, very big fairs, as you can imagine. The Fair Green held the most of them because it was so convenient to the railway station, and when all the cattle were all for export anyway, like that were sold, and you had the big fellas down there in the Fair Green, but then you had the smaller crowd around the street, and I can tell you, the smell wasn't too nice, because they came in there at 4 o'clock, half 4 in the morning, and then actually when we lived in Church Street afterwards, they came down as far as Church Street there, you know. And it would take 2 or 3 years then for the council to get rid of the muck.
And was luck money ever given?
Always. It was a custom that you had to have luck money. If you didn't, there probably wouldn't be any trade, like, you know.
Where did you sit in like church?
The men sat on the left, the women sat on the right, and you had the 2 middle pews, but you paid 3p to go in there, and men and women could go in there, like, provided you paid your 3p. The big one on the left and the big one on the right were free.
What priests were in the parish?
Now, there was Archdeacon Nolan. He was a big man. He was about 6 feet 5 or 6. You had Father McGrath. You had Father McGrath. Your Father Nicholas O'Ryan. Now, Father Nicholas, he was a great Gaelic League man, and every St. Patrick's Day, our sermon was through the medium of Irish. You had Father Morrissey, who was kind of a native a few miles out, Kilfeacle direction. He was afterwards parish priest in Boherlahan, I think. And afterwards then, of course we had changes. You had Father Hammersley, he was another one. And you're the famous Father Hayes.
Remember your first communion day?
I tell you, I can. For the simple reason that somebody bought me a pair of football boots. And that was my outstanding memory, that I got a pair of football boots for my first communion. I haven't taken them off since.
Were there many priests or nuns or Christian brothers in the locality?
Oh, actually, you had, I suppose, 10 or 12 Christian brothers. And you had the parish priest and 4 curates. And then you had the nuns. Now, I wouldn't know an awful lot about the nuns. But yeah, oh yes, and then you had the novitiate in Kilshan. That was the Holy Ghost novitiate. And there were about 100 candidates for the church out there in Kilshan. And once a month, they'd walk in to go to confession. And they were there up to, well, no, they're gone for quite a while now, like. But just shows you the changing times, that there's over 100 there in that one place, like, you know.
Were there any like famous religious people in like the locality?
Famous religious people, the only one would be Father Hayes, I'd say. He founded Moint in the Tira, and he was like a breath of fresh air to come into the town. He organised everything practically. He was responsible for getting the Lino factory. He was responsible for the setting up of the gloving factory. And he used to have civic weeks. The town would have kind of a carnival for a week. And then he had the open week for Moint and the Theatre, where they used to go off to different places. But a wonderful man. You'll enjoy this. Confessions will be on, of course, every Saturday night from 7 to 9. And they'll be all the 4 priests will be hearing, and the Archdeacon. But there'd be big gaps in the other ones. But Father Hayes, there was always a queue. One of his favourite sayings was, "Did you kill anybody? If you didn't, you were all right." And the reason he asked you, "Did you kill anybody?" was murder was a reserved sin in our days, and you had to go to the bishop to be absolved of murder. So he couldn't do it, and that's why, "Did you kill anybody?"
Can you tell us about John McCormack?
Well, he was a famous Irish tenor. He sang in opera, but he was more famous for the songs he recorded. I heard him, believe it or not, in 1932. It was the year of the Eucharistic Congress. And he after the conclusion of the Congress, he sang at the Rock of Cashel. And my mother brought me to Cashel anyway. I can, huge big crowd at the Rock of Cashel to listen to John McCormack.
And can you recall any famous matches played in your area?
I can. Funnily enough, the majority of the big matches were hurling matches. But Anacarty had a very good team at one stage there, and they won a county championship. And 4 or 5 of their lads played hurling with tip, like, you know. We weren't too successful. We won, I think, a county football championship in 1942. I wasn't playing on that, I was too young, like, you know.
And did you travel far to matches?
Well, when the war started in 1939, and of course, no, I was only, what, 13 in 39, but as the war wore on, I got older, naturally enough, and it didn't finish until 1945. But it was no bother to us to get up on our bicycles and cycle to Thurles, which would be 24 miles each way, cycle to Limerick, the same, like, you know.
And what players were renowned in this area in your youth?
Pardon?
What players were renowned in this area in your youth?
Yeah, well, for the football, I can talk about our Rovers now, like Tom Power, the two O'Donoghus, Billy and Paddy, they all played for the county. Andy Greensmith, a brother of Harry's, he was killed in the Blitz in Limerick and in London during the war afterwards. They were all excellent footballers. Well, then you had the Anacarty contingent of the hurling. You had Philly de Castle, you would, what else had you? Tom Burke. From Salahad, you had Martin Larkin, and they all played for the county, like, you know.
Tell us a bit more about the Tipperary Club.
Well, it was a social club, if you like. It was a home from home for an awful lot of us, because during the winter, like, except going to the pictures, there was no place else to go, like, or a pub, which we didn't do because we had no money to go there. But you had a billiard table there, and you had a table tennis table, and you played billiards or snooker or a game of table tennis, like, keep you fit. And then the older members, we were the young fellas, and the older members, they had their card at school. They used to play 45 or play as poker. The wealthiest of them used to play poker, and the poorer crowd would play 45.
What's the cinema like?
Oh, the cinema was lovely. Well, there were 2 cinemas there, actually, but the one was built, the Excel, where the Excel is now, like, that was built new, and a lovely cinema. You had 3 changes of film a week on two cinemas. That was 6 changes, so you were never kind of stuck to go to a film. And on Sunday night you had to book, otherwise you wouldn't get a seat. No, there was a 3rd cinema, but it had closed. It was the Tivoli. It was up in O'Brien Street, Henry Street, and a family called O'Donnell's had that. A family called O'Donnell's had the Tivoli, and if you were stuck for money, they'd accept jam jars. So you brought your 3 or 4 jam jars and you got into the cinema. Something I meant to say was that my father used to tell me about the local poets, and one of them was Darby Ryan from Banshire. Now, Darby's claim to fame was that he wrote the satirical poem, The Peeler and the Goat. I think of a little bit of it in a minute. The Banshire peelers went out one night on duty and patrolling. They met an old goat upon the road and took him to be a stroller. "Oh mercy, sir," the goat replied, "I am no Whig or Tory, oh meggy mageg, let go me head, let go me leg, or I'll puck you with me horn, no."
Finish, would you have another song?
What would you like to hear?
Anything.
Anything? No, the Garden of Eden has vanished, they say, but I know the lie of it still. A turn to the left at the Bridge of Fenney, and stop when halfway to Coot Hill. It's there you'll find it, I know sure enough, when fortune has come to my call. For the grass it is green around Ballyjamesduff, and the blue sky is over it all. And tones that are tender, and tones that are gruff, the whispers come over the sea. Come back, Paddy Riley, to Ballyjamesduff. Come home, Paddy Riley, to me. Now,
Thank you very much, Jackie.
you're welcome. You're welcome.